I want to bring in Andrew Pollack. He is a public safety officer for Berna's school safety program. Andrew, good to see you again, and thank you so much for coming on the program. As you and I have talked over the past few years, you tragically lost your daughter, Meadow, in the Parkland school shooting. This was in 2018, something you're familiar with all too well. Then you watch this unfold here, sir. If I can, and if you would open up a little bit for the viewers here, if I could tug on your heartstrings of watching this happen to these 8 to 10-year-olds. You've been through this before, the loss of the life of a child. What went through your mind?
Well, Sean, you made a comment. You wanted to check in and see how I'm feeling. I'm listening to the show. And you know what? What saddens me so much is that there's another 19 families out there that are going to feel like I do for the rest of my life. It's something you never recover from a child, losing a child to murder. It's something that your heart is broken forever. And you know what? As this unfolds, I'm watching and I'm hearing conflicting stories about it took that long to get into the building. So that was a similar situation in Parkland. It took over 40 minutes for them to reach my daughter on that 3rd floor where she bled, and you know, everybody knows she was murdered. She tried to shield some child. But so that deputy, there was a deputy at my daughter's school that didn't go in that day, Deputy Peterson. He hid behind a wall while he knew kids were getting murdered. That deputy was indicted now on felony child endangerment charges, and his trial is set for September. Let's hope that same situation doesn't unfold in Texas, because I hate hearing that these guys stood down. There shouldn't be one police officer in the country that doesn't know you sign up with that badge. When you hear shots, you have to go towards that gunfight.
Yeah, you bring up an excellent point, and again, for our viewers here, Mr. Pollack, he's the one that helped pass the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Act. Outspoken there at the White House, very memorable moment as well. And what you're talking about, these conflicting reports, is actually what I was going to read to you. This came out earlier today from Robb Elementary and the investigation that's unfolding. It says the Department of Public Safety director told reporters that it was 40 minutes to an hour that elapsed from when the gunman opened fire on the school security officer to when the tactical team shot him, but the department spokesperson said later they could not give a solid estimate of how long the gunman was actually in the school when he was killed at the time. You've got reports, you've got eyewitness accounts that are saying to onlookers, parents were considering storming into the school themselves, yelling at other officers to go inside. We don't know all the details, but want to be very clear. There are other cable news outlets that are kind of jumping in front of the investigation. The Texas Rangers are investigating this because the Uvalde Police Department was involved, Texas DPS was involved, others, a potential school officer involved as well. But bottom line, did someone not act? Was protocol not followed in that school, keeping doors locked? These are things that are still being investigated, something you rightfully pointed out here. Do you feel that you faced this in Florida? Do you feel like this is something that could have been prevented?
1,000% this could have been prevented. In Florida, after the shooting, it was Governor Scott at the time put a commission together to look into all the failures. And he brought in experts from around the state, and they dissected. There was so many failures. They dissected it, and they put it into protocols in other schools, the findings, so it wouldn't happen again. You know, the perimeter fencing, the single point of entry, we have the armed security, one police officer or a guardian per 500 students. So what I don't get in Texas, a lot of people are forgetting, on May 18, 2018, in Santa Fe, there was a horrible school shooting where I think it was about 10 children were murdered. So why is it, you know, in Florida we got it right, you know, they did so many things to make our children safe. And in Texas, I'm pretty pissed off. They had a shooting in Santa Fe, and here you go, the same, you know, how does he get into, the door should have been locked, there should have been fencing, you should have had the right amount of police officers, they should know to storm the building. So it happened in Texas, and here you go again. You know, it's 4 years later, and they didn't make the necessary changes to prevent it. So my heart is broken for these people, but this was preventable.
Yep.
You're going to find out also that this murderer didn't just wake up that day and decide to kill his grandma and these 19 people. I'm sure there was other signals beforehand where this could have been prevented.
I also want to mention that the CBP involvement, their elite unit member from Bortak, reportedly was the one that killed the gunman, barely made it out with his life. I believe his head was grazed, according to reports there, by a bullet wound. But again, that's why it's being investigated. Did every officer act the way they should? Did they get in there in the timely manner that they could? There are a lot of nuances to this. We don't know everything yet. The investigation's ongoing, but that is something that needs to be found out. You tweeted this out. I know that you said this. And I wanted to show the viewers this if I can before we go, from your Twitter account. You said, armed guard, single point of entry, teacher training. We send out billions to other countries all the time. Why not fund school safety in America? Andrew, I'll give you the last 30 seconds for that.
Well, that sickens me because we're in this country, Americans are suffering all out throughout the country. And also in these schools. How can we not have the budgets in our country to protect our own children? What are our children worth? The biggest asset that we love more than anything. It's not that hard to fix these schools, and we could have done a lot with that $40 billion. And one other thing, police reform. How about mental health reform? With all these people doing these mass shootings, we're finding out they're slipping through the cracks of the mental health caseworkers and leaving them out on the streets to do these mass shootings. Let's hold these mental health case workers accountable, not the police. The police need our help. The police need to be funded. Okay, let's go after the mental health caseworkers.
All right, we'll leave it right there. Andrew Pollack there, again, father of Meadow, tragically lost her life in Parkland. Strong advocate, though, for safety in the schools. Andrew, you have continued that throughout the years, and we do appreciate that. I know the viewers do, too. Good to see you, Andrew. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.